you so much for joining me for this webinar, the topic of which is optimizing anti-money laundering processes, enhancing team and customer experiences, which is brought to you by ETCIO in partnership with Kyndryl. To give you a brief context of what the session will contain, let me just take a minute or so. Now, in today's fast evolving regulatory landscape, anti-money laundering is evolving beyond basic compliance to focus on smarter, scalable, and human-centric systems. Financial institutions are pressured to not only improve their anti-money laundering process accuracy and reduce false positives without compromising risk detection, but also to minimize operational friction and enhance customer trust. Now, this shift emphasizes the importance of integrated platforms that combine automation with advanced analytics, leveraging AI and machine learning to speed up investigations. Now, by streamlining workflows between compliance and operations teams, automating data collection, and streamlining investigations, these systems provide critical evidence-based insights and relevant external information. Now, this comprehensive approach helps analysts make faster and more consistent decisions. The aim is to transform compliance into a strategic advantage, empowering better outcomes for both the internal teams and external customers by aligning the anti-money laundering processes with customer experience goals. And such optimization leads to significant operational throughput gains, reduced costs, and improved decision making. Ultimately, it fosters greater regulatory consistency and a super experience, ensuring the anti-money laundering processes are efficient, effective, and are built on trust. So with that, I would like to invite our expert speaker to take this forward and get into more details of what I just spoke about. So please join me in welcoming Shekhar Jadhav, Associate Partner Data Consulting at Kyndryl. And before Shekhar takes it over, I would request all of you to put your questions in the Q&A section, which is there at the bottom of the Zoom platform. So while the presentation is going on, if there are any questions or any clarity that you would need, do put in your questions there, and we will be taking them up towards the end of the session during the Q&A part. Thank you so much. So Shekhar, over to you.
Hey, hi guys. Thank you so much, Shipra. Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Shekhar Jadhav. I am part of Kyndryl's consulting organization, Kyndryl Consult, and I'm an associate partner within the data and AI practice. Specifically, I run the data and AI strategy consulting arm of within the practice. So today, really excited to talk about this very interesting topic, and at the same time, you know, it's an honor to be associated with ET and you know, getting this chance to talk to all of you. So, you know, anti-money laundering basically is a very interesting topic. It's a personal favorite of mine. But before we get into, you know, a little bit of the core topic, I wanted to just give a little bit overview about who we are and what we do. For at least people who do not know us and are here for the first time. So Kyndryl is the world's largest IT services company. We have more than 70,000 plus employees across the world doing running and maintaining the mission critical workloads of almost all major customers that you can think of across the globe. We have more than 4,000 customers across the globe, and the way we deliver our services is through our core 6 practices. Right from the network and edge layer to the applications layer. So we kind of cover the entire stack from the infrastructure to the application layer, and also throughout the life cycle, right from the advisory side to actually doing day-to-day operations and running the operations for our customers. Right. The way we interact with most of our customers is through our Kyndryl Consult business. That's our advisory and consulting business, led by a co-creation framework called Vital, which is a co-creation design-led framework that we use to kind of solve business problems and envision new solutions to critical business challenges. And Kyndryl Bridge is where we kind of bring all of our services together so that our customers can actually consume the services and interact with Kyndryl in a much more seamless manner. So again, if I want to give a little bit more deep dive around the scale at which we operate today is we have four of the five top airlines working with us in terms of revenue. We have 40% of our business coming from the banking and financial sectors. We have a large banking guild, which is not only having Kyndryl experts in it, but also experts from all our customers and industry experts working together on things like what is the next best thing in payments, how do we bring in more transparency to financial operations with neobanks or with inclusion of privacy within the financial banking infrastructure and services, right? So those kind of things and those kind of topics are discussed, and kind of new age solutions are envisioned in that particular guild. We do have a lot of presence on the cloud in terms of skills, in terms of experience, in terms of deployment of large platforms and services, modernization of core banking, and modernization of allied important business applications as well, right? So that's something around how we look at Kyndryl from an outside in perspective. But then inside out perspective, there's a lot of a transformation going on within each industry and within all the clients that we are working with, especially around how to embed AI and how to basically enhance business operations using AI. And that is one part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is to basically how to use AI to transform the business, to basically create a disruption in the market so that our customers have an unfair advantage, or kind of get a unfair advantage in the market, right? So how do we use that? No, that starts within. So as a service provider, we have started to use AI ML long back, and we are kind of continuing that journey, wherein we are redefining our own operations and becoming customer zero for all our AI related solutions, or methodologies, frameworks, and toolkits that we want to use within our customers' environment. So we are basically kind of embedding AI within our environments and testing it out, whether it is governance related part, whether it is rapid prototyping, whether it is creating the learning and development framework to kind of accelerate AI usage within a company. And then how do we basically bring that thought capital out to our clients is via this AI thought leadership that we bring to our customers. And it's not just Kyndryl employees which are trying to give that thought capital, but we do collaborate with industry experts and academia and everybody to basically get the best knowledge out to our customers, right? So that's a little bit about Kyndryl and how Kyndryl is kind of bringing in AI within our own ecosystem so that we can be more smarter when we go to our customers, right? And as a company, we definitely are on the radars of some of the biggest market analysts, whether it is generic IT services, whether it's Gartner or ISG, or whether it is very specific for, let's say, cyber resiliency, cyber security, whether it is Nelson Hall or DWS, which is basically enterprise services for service desk, etc. on IDC side, right? So that's basically who we are. So little bit of examples to just set the context of who Kyndryl is and why we are actually talking to you guys today, right? Moving ahead, so basically, want to start with this very basic premise as to what is money laundering, right? And it's a very ingenious crime if because it's an illegal activity considered in many jurisdictions. So it's a very it's a criminal activity, obviously, but it's also ingenious at the same point in time because of the nature of intelligence and thought that goes into doing this kind of washing of money, right? So there are primary three particular pillars or three particular stages for this process of washing the money, right? The first is, you try to place the money inside the system. So you are bringing in, criminals are bringing in funds from criminal activities like maybe drug trafficking, human trafficking, gambling, etc., in jurisdictions where it is not permitted. And at that point in time, when the system comes, when the system basically gets the money introduced to it, it's a placement. You're placing the money in the system. And then there is something called as layering, and layering has various different ways in which it manifests. It is local in nature, it is global in nature in many cases. It's about how effectively the money launderer or the group of money launderers are able to hide the trail of the money. So ultimately, they don't want you to know from where the funds actually originated or where the funds are intended to go, right? So who is the ultimate beneficiary of that particular monetary transactions? So that's the second part, right, which is a little bit complex, involved, and it kind of creates a network of the flow of money, right? And then the final thing is, you integrate it back into the actual legal financial ecosystem by placing that particular laundered money into legitimate transactions. So the transaction could be buying and selling of stocks, or investing in some projects like real estate, or maybe making an equity investment in some startup, right? So all of that is very much valid transactions, but then you're hiding the actual origin of money, and that's a successful money laundering process, right? So the goal of the money launderer is very simple. It's basically to hide from where the money has started, or where it has entered the system, and where the money is actually going to, and then kind of obscure the origination of the funds, right? So that's basically what it is. Okay, so when we look at the scale at which this problem is manifesting itself, just some figures to share with you guys, right? Drug trafficking alone, and this is the known portion of it. So there could be a lot of things which are unknown because they ultimately don't get detected. The known portion itself is close to about $800 billion only from drug trafficking. And then you add human trafficking, you add animal trafficking, you add terrorist funding, you have some other types of illegal activities. It could be gambling and other things that are not permitted in that particular jurisdiction. So it's a significant amount of monetary injection that is coming from illegal activities, which is actually supporting the illegal activities. And because of that particular aspect, we don't want, obviously, human trafficking to succeed. We don't want terrorist financing to succeed. So as a society, as a responsible financial intermediary, we have to put controls, checks, balances, systems, frameworks in place to basically thwart the efforts of these money launderers, right? And that is also a very expensive and a very involved task. And that is a whole world of anti-money laundering, right? And if you look at some of the numbers that are collected by some of the market research analysts, it goes in billions, right? It goes in billions of dollars across the world, which have been invested in terms of manpower, in terms of systems, in terms of tools, to kind of control the proliferation of money laundering, right? and it still remains a very top priority of executives because it has a lot of reputational risk associated with it, and we are still not able to completely 100% kind of attack this problem. So there is obviously a lot of scope for improvement, and that's where today's topic becomes a little bit more interesting, right? So let us start with maybe a poll question. So Shipra, if you want to.
Yes, Shikhar. So we have the first poll question. So I request the team to please launch the question on the screen. Okay, so the question is, how mature is your current anti-money laundering process? It's a single choice question. There are four choices: very mature, moderately mature, still evolving, and not sure. So we have about 30 seconds for you to answer, and then we will also show the result of the poll. Okay, so Shekhar, you can see the results.
Yeah, yeah,
Most are
absolutely.
in the bracket of still evolving
Yeah.
or moderately mature. Do you see this kind of resonates with you from what you have been seeing in the industry,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
is it a little
absolutely. And
different?
especially within the Indian context, it definitely
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
So,
Um,
can team, can we just remove the poll window? So we will continue with the presentation. And before Shekhar continues, I request everyone, if you have any questions, please do drop them in the Q&A tab, which is at the bottom. And we will be taking up these questions for answering towards the end of the webinar after the presentation is over.
No problem. So, now that we kind of understood what we mean by money laundering and what is the impact, obviously there are global ways in which we are trying to tackle that, and there are certain regulations. I don't want to go too deep into that, but you have a global set of regulations, and then you have country set specific set of regulations and directives that actually help in defining what financial intermediaries should actually be, obliging to and kind of complying with, right? And if they don't do that, then there are obviously heavy penalties. And usually EU leads with this, particular implementation in a much more mature way, whether it is compliance related stuff, whether it is around finding the non-compliant players, actually punishing them, and kind of making it public, right? So they are taking the lead, while India is definitely has built a very strong regulatory ecosystem and compliance system, especially with the introduction of the Financial Intelligence Unit, and the close coordination between various law enforcement agencies like ED and Ministry of Home Affairs, actually sharing data together. Their databases are interconnected, and all the banks are required to share, obviously, according to the directives of international, as well as whatever is laid by the key regulations in India, whether it is PMLA or whether it is sectoral guidelines for each particular sector, and certain sensitive sectors, etc. There have been some amount of fines and penalties that have been also laid on Indian entities, but they are mostly within the customer due diligence domain, rather than purely on anti-money laundering kind of areas. But that kind of shows that we have been tackling this with a little bit more care in the recent years, right? Now you must be wondering that, okay, fine, regulatory and compliance requirements, and obviously, because as a society we don't want drug trafficking or human trafficking to actually succeed, so we need to have this entire program in place, and we have to invest resources towards it. But is it only for regulatory compliance, or can we actually expect a little bit more out of this particular investment that we are making in anti-money laundering, or countering for financing for terrorism, right? So the answer is yes. We have seen banks and other financial intermediaries using the investments that they have made in anti-money laundering systems. All right. So as I was mentioning, guys, that there are various non-regulatory benefits also, and many of our partner financial institutions and our customers actually are using a lot of their AML related investments and the amount of clean data that they get out of AML to be kind of utilized in that particular manner, right? So maybe we can take another poll question here.
Sure. So can we have the second poll question? Okay, so it's up on the screen. What non-regulatory benefits do you think your organization gains from its anti-money laundering programs? I'll just read out the choices: improved customer trust and brand reputation, enhanced risk management and fraud detection, operational efficiency and streamlined processes, data-driven insights for strategic decision making, and the last choice is not much focus beyond regulatory compliance. We'll have the question up for a few more seconds so that all of you get enough time to answer it. We have a few more seconds left. So in case anyone is still to answer the poll question, this is the time you can make your choice right now. And Ragini, if we have enough responses, we can maybe take down the poll question and show the results. Okay, so an overwhelming majority feel that enhanced risk management and fraud detection as the biggest non-regulatory benefit. So Shekhar, any comment on that before I have my own question? So if any comment on that, we can close.
No.
Close the poll screen. Yeah.
No, I think it is very much aligned to what I was expecting, because risk management and fraud detection is very much aligned to the information that has been collected using in the AML procedures, right? So that obviously provides a lift for fraud detection and risk management as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question to you is, AI and ML, and most recently generative AI, they are gaining a lot of importance in the area of anti-money laundering operations. So how does Kyndryl view this shift?
That's a nice question, Shipra. And basically, we do have a very evolved point of view when it comes to using AI, and then nowadays, generative AI also within AML, right? So there are basically three layers in which we kind of see AI, ML, and generative AI being implemented. All right. The first is, how strongly can you improve your detection capabilities by using AI ML algorithms? Can you make things more real time? Can you actually be more proactive instead of reactive? So can you catch a transaction, suspicious transaction, while it's happening, rather than when the money is already into the system, right? Can you process much more information than you can today by traditional methods, and using maybe manual labor, right? And can you actually become more dynamic when it comes to rule-based screening or scanning, right? So can you actually use AI algorithms to basically detect patterns and create dynamic rules, or kind of enhance your existing rules based on the changes that you see in the transaction patterns, or in the evolution of new financial products that are being used by your customers, right? The second is compliance, and that is very much important, because today, combined with regulatory technology and the efforts that banks take on fraud detection, anti-money laundering, etc., the landscape is extremely complex. You have international regulations, you have national regulations, you have counter regulations, which basically sometimes can be counterintuitive to one another, right? So how do you navigate the complex landscape of compliance, and yet are able to kind of achieve the objective of your investments within AML, right? So AI helps in navigating a lot of complex rules and regulations around compliance. Um, it also enables you to basically have a very high level of compliance posture, which gives you a right to do business in many different areas, many different geographies, right? So that's another area that we look at AI. And this actually, sounds that it doesn't have a lot of monetary value, but it actually has the highest amount of monetary value, because it opens the door very easily for you to do business in any new area, because you are using AI ML to basically understand new regulations and bring those controls effectively in your systems very quickly. And the third area where we see AI ML getting a very strong hold is in actual prevention, right? So this is where the system, instead of being reactive and kind of filing SAR after the event, can we actually detect events which are currently in progress? So, multiple small deposits getting occurred in mule accounts, and, transactions which are getting overlaid between, actual legitimate transactions, sandwiching, all of these different things. Because this is the place where the money launderer is trying to basically ingest money into the system. It is not yet the person has not yet realized the benefit. So if you can stop the criminal activity right at the start, by detecting patterns, which are, obviously these criminals are smart, so they are evolving their patterns. And by using AI, if you are able to basically identify new patterns and stop these activities right at the first layer itself, then it's a win-win situation for everybody, and prevention becomes very, very strong. The other thing that we are seeing generative AI being used to do is, it's actually creating these new patterns, right? So testing out of new patterns, creating a lot of data, creating a lot of information that we can actually train our AI models on, to basically see if we are able to detect new patterns, if we are able to make systems more intelligent, right? So that is a very new and emerging area, where we are looking at it for training and simulation and doing proactive triggers in the system, right? So that's at one level. And then when you go a little bit more deeper, right, into exactly what you mean within these three areas, then there are many different sub areas which are being targeted by AI and ML today, when it comes to anti-money laundering. Traditionally we had anomaly detection, reduction of false positive to be the main selling point of AML system with AI embedded in it, right? But nowadays, it is about more enhanced customer profiling. It is about automated reporting. Because of generative AI, the SARs are getting pretty much automated and getting filed automatically. You are able to rank different SARs so that people can work on what is more important, what is more critical than the 100 different suspicious account reports that you have in your case management system. And at the same point in time, further enhance the false positive reduction aspect, because at the end of the day, the traditional AML systems usually generate a lot of false positives. And that's why when you shift to an AI based system, it kind of firstly gives you a reduction in false positives. Second, it kind of automates some of the actual work that you have to do. And by learning some of the emerging patterns, as the system becomes much more mature within your environment, your positive reduction can actually be close to almost 80-85%, right? So that's a very high productivity gain. And it obviously improves the ability to counter the remaining 15% of actual important suspicious activity, and then kind of have more focus there. So you know now, obviously, to take advantage of all these good things that you can achieve out of AI, generative AI, there are certain important things that need to be also foundational, and we have to basically keep them ready in order to for these systems to actually consume. And that means that you need to have a very solid data platform, or let's say data infrastructure, right? Which is able to kind of supply clean and reliable data, which is able to supply data at a very high throughput. At the same time, you're not bottlenecked by the infrastructure or by the compute that you have for these systems, because AI, ML, generative AI systems, they usually require a lot of compute. And at the same point in time, it is not enough just to kind of detect a suspicious activity, but what about taking care of it? What is the post detection framework that you have? And because of agentic AI and generative AI coming up nowadays, you can actually have a very automated post detection framework in place, depending on the severity and the nature of alerts that are coming in, right? And at the same time, we need to also think about how can we create more training data, simulate more innovative ways of actually doing anti-money laundering, so that the system is able to see these things in a simulation before it kind of comes across in real world, right? And how do we work on data which is not really non-transactional in nature, right? Which is probably something which has to be like a social media feed, or some news announcements. How do we connect what is happening in some particular country with some transactions that are kind of getting started or triggered in the system? So how do you bring non-transactional information intelligence combined together with what's happening in your transactional systems, right? So these are some of the new foundational things that we need to consider for these AI, ML, and generative AI systems to be more successful. And if you look at how a AML agent really spends his day, you typically have bombarded that person. Systems usually bombard this person with a lot of alerts, right? And there is a fine balance between what that person needs to kind of focus upon versus what that person actually needs to scan, because you certainly don't want to miss anything, but at the same point in time you want to focus on most of the important things. And that is the crucial thing which today, especially the generative AI systems, are trying to solve. Because when an AI ML system detects all these important activities, it is the next stage of filtering, of creating the regulatory report filings, create, bringing together the proofs, right? So scanning a lot of data, getting all the data together into one place, formatting it in a visual representation that kind of makes it easier to make connections, right? So all of that things are being taken slowly over by generative AI, and the human analyst is focusing more on the intelligence, or kind of finding things or connecting dots, where even today the systems are not able to do that, because the human intelligence of a AML analyst and the experience that that person has, we are still not able to meet that 100%, right? So we want the analyst to really focus on the high value transactions and the important severity transactions, to basically kind of successfully solve them, right? And that's pretty much those kind of challenges that you see today, that is getting solved by the generative AI systems that we have today. Yeah, maybe another
Yes.
poll question.
Yes. So can we have the third poll question on the screen, please? Okay, so the question is, what are your top priorities for anti-money laundering in the next 12 months? Number one is reducing false positives, enhancing automation and analytics, improving investigation turnaround time, integrating customer experience, and meeting new regulatory requirements. So all of these might be your priorities, but we are asking you the topmost priority, and therefore it's a single choice answer. Which of these is the topmost priority for you in the next 12 months? So you have about half a minute to answer. So in case we have enough responses, we can close the question and show the results. Okay. So enhancing automation analytics, overwhelming majority say that is the topmost priorities, and improving investigation turnaround time, integrating customer experience, and meeting new regulatory requirements are quite lower down in the priority list. But I'm really intrigued that reducing false positives is not even has not been voted by even a single attendee. So, what do you think about that? We can remove the screen now. And so, Shekhar, any inputs on that? Any comment on that?
No, no, absolutely a little surprising one, but I think I think in general the entire AML landscape within India, right? The systems, the controls. We have been using a lot of AI ML solutions already within most of the financial institutions. The KYC, the re-KYC, the CDD processes are very, very strong. So, for reduction in false positive to happen, you need to have a lot of false positives. So, I believe that maybe, our audiences are not seeing that much amount of false positives coming in, and they are more interested in about, how to handle those activity reports that are actually coming in, what automation can be done, what kind of analytics can we provide in terms of setting up more control, setting up more better monitoring processes, so that that gets filtered at the intake itself, right? So yeah, I mean, little bit surprising, but then I can still understand that most of our Indian banks and financial institutions are using AIML, so they must have already some amount of false positive, that is already taken care of.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have another question for you now. What we see is that the regulatory landscape is constantly changing,
Yeah.
and similarly, at the same time, criminals are coming with new methods of
Yeah.
money laundering, newer, more innovative methods. So, how do organizations, how do they be ready to address this changing
Yeah.
regulatory dynamics, the novel methods of money laundering, and be proactive rather than reactive at the same time? So they want to address all this not once the money
Yeah.
laundering has happened, but to be proactive and prevent it altogether.
Absolutely, and that's a very nice question, Shipra, because see, point solutions can actually take you up to a particular level, right? And as we saw from the last poll question, that is not enough, right? You want this particular thing to actually go to the next level of excellence, right? Wherein you are taking care of the whole process, in a very automated way, and especially post detection automation becomes very important. So you kind of freeze the account, you kind of stop the transaction, you kind of park the fund in escrow or whatever, right? It's kind of a initiative that needs to be taken at a split of a second after detection, right? And how do you go about doing that, right? So from a Kyndryl perspective, we believe that AML solutions nowadays, are not just point solution. They cannot be a point solution, because they will only give you up till a particular level of detection capabilities and kind of management capabilities. But then if you want to really outsmart and be at the top of the game, versus the criminals that today are using the novel methods, then we need to embed AIML monitoring and management within a AI readiness or AI continuum that goes organization wide. So it is not just something that you are doing in a point solution for an AML system, but it is like you are taking a look at holistic view of your entire data, and the integration of data from inside as well as outside. How is it kind of currently done? How is it governed? How is it managed? Is it accessible? Is it reliable? Then on top of that, what are the different AI ML capabilities that you can centrally kind of supply, right? And consume at the same time, right? So whether it is an AML analyst consuming it or whether it is a marketing analyst consuming it, it doesn't matter. But the capability exists at an enterprise level for consumption. And there's a backbone of infrastructure which actually supports that level of query and response and that level of computation power that is required on demand when the load becomes quite high, as well as when things need to be kind of expedited. So if you want performance and if you want a very high throughput, then you need to have a backbone which kind of allows you to be elastic and flexible, right? So it kind of goes across the different dimensions, and we believe that having a holistic view across the entire organization, right from the infrastructure to your integration layer, to your data layer, to your AI services layer, and then on top of that, all the systems that you're putting, whether it is an AML solution, whether it is some kind of a marketing solution, or CRM solution, or KYC solution, or a fraud detection solution, they are actually taking the consuming the capabilities that are centrally exposed by the enterprise. And that's very important for even automation, right? Because if you want to do a point automations using one particular domain, it's only going to kind of scale up to a particular level. But if you want your entire workflow to be automated, you need a central, like an automation hub or an agentic mesh kind of a solution, which basically is able to trigger different things in different systems based on the triggers that are coming in from an AML system or from any other system, right? So it has to take, because all the important systems that actually are transactional in nature and core in nature are sitting outside of the AML solution, right? So the AML solution is basically consuming the data, trying to spit out suspicious activity triggers, and then it is basically sitting in outside of this continuum. So you have to embed this solution inside a continuum which can actually complete the entire automation pathway that all of us are trying to achieve, right? So that is our point of view when it comes to the next level or the next generation of AML readiness.
So I have a question here, Shekhar, and before I ask that, we have got quite a few questions in the
Mhm.
Q&A tab. So I urge everyone, we have a next few slides left. So if you have
Yeah.
any questions, do drop them in the Q&A tab, and Shekhar will be taking those up after his presentation is over. So before that, Shekhar, before you continue, what does Kyndryl have to offer in this space?
Yeah, so Shipra, we definitely have a lot of solutions, and the ones that I want to highlight today is that we have our own AML platform, which again, as I mentioned, it's a platform which can get very much embedded into the AI continuum that I talked about, and it kind of has all the different features that you would expect a standard AML solution to have. But in addition to that, it kind of works on cryptocurrencies, it works on payments, it works on sanctions. It has a very open source architecture, so it's not really tying you down from a vendor perspective. And at the same point in time, it is kind of expandable and flexible to kind of consume the agentic AI infrastructure that kind of takes care of the post detection automation that we were talking about. So it unlocks the next level of productivity. Let me just go quickly to the another one, and this is we are working with Microsoft on how to use Copilot in to basically improve the productivity and make life easier about the AML agent, right? So I spoke about how we can automate the filing of SARs and collection of evidence and stuff like that. So this is what we are trying to educate and implement with more many of our customers, wherein we want to make sure that we are able to unlock some productivity from the analyst and kind of bring it to the next important things that the analyst needs to focus on, while the redundant activities, repetitive tasks, etc., are taken care of by the generative AI copilot that we have, right? So these are couple of solutions that we have today uh, that we are discussing with our clients. And besides this, obviously, as a system integrator, we work with third-party solutions. We kind of create ground up solutions also for our clients. We kind of integrate AI/ML processes and AI/ML tools, as well as create AI/ML applications in the area of fraud detection, AML, counter financing of terrorism, etc. Right? So, yeah.
I mean, very important as well as very interesting insights on money laundering, and as well as how it can be addressed or combated through technology, especially now with AI, ML, and generative AI. So, of course, a lot of interesting use cases that are going to come up, that are already there, and few more that are going to be coming up over the next few months. Now, in the meanwhile, while you were presenting, we got a few questions. So I will just read out those questions to you. The first question is from Umesh Salvi. He is asking what factors contribute to a higher risk of money laundering in certain sectors.
Yeah, so every sector has its own, set of unique types of transactions and suspicious activities, right? And that's why sectoral based rules and sectoral based patterns are getting identified. So any solution which is having preloaded sectoral based rules and patterns is actually, much more evident in the market, kind of from an uptake perspective. Like for example, if you are within the gems and jewelry kind of sector, then you would be very surprised about a certain value of transaction, certain circular trading happening between different entities of the same nature. So those are some of the rules that you might want to kind of look into, but definitely you need some expertise within that particular sector who knows how the operations happen, and at the same point in time, how to kind of filter the genuine ones from suspicious ones. Now, not all of them actually are resulting from illegal operations like drug trafficking, etc. But anti-money laundering also means that you're trying to hide, money from, governments or from tax authorities, etc. And then if you're using the financial institute to do that, then, it becomes a burden on the financial institute to actually point those out as well. So those are very sectoral rules, and there could be factors around the value of the goods, the scarcity of the goods, the number of players that are involved, transaction amounts, the amount of information, the KYC that you have on that particular customer, or the companies that are operating there. Then what is the third-party data that you can get across, where you are able to identify the same entities between different banks, different agencies, right? So those are some of the things that contribute towards a higher rate of detection.
Right. So the next one is not a question, it's actually a remark by Meera Kumar, saying that I would love to spend more time on the way to reduce false positives,
Yeah.
and the percentage to set for compliance and AML screening. So, Meera, you can get in touch with Shekhar and his team. So, Shekhar, would you like to maybe share an email ID where not just Meera, but anyone can reach out to you? Maybe in the Q&A tab, you can leave any contact detail in terms of any email ID where Meera and others can reach out. But thank you so much, Meera, for showing this interest. Then we have a question from Umesh again. What tools and technologies are available to assist in detecting potential money laundering? I think, Shekhar, you covered some of this when you're talking about the AI/ML tools, but
Yeah.
please go ahead if there's anything.
No, there are a lot of third-party tools. There are some ingrown tools within a lot of financial institutions. They like to basically custom code these solutions because they have a lot of proprietary intelligence on their customers, etc. There's a lot of third-party tools that are available for direct plug and play, which kind of already come with a lot of APIs that connect to international sanctions list and politically exposed people list and all these other things, right? So quite a few options are there, but my suggestion would be to basically start with what operations you basically provide. If you're a bank, then what are your operations, and then depending on that, there should be a criteria that comes across for requirements on third party data, requirements around AI/ML, requirements around performance, around the nature of real time versus batch that you want, and obviously the commercial dynamics that are there, right? So depending on that matrix, you can take a call, and at every level there are solutions available. There are some from our side, there are some from third parties as well.
Great. So we have another question from Dinesh Rana. He's asking that the Financial Action Task Force has been in existence for quite long, but it failed to, I think, combat terror financing in Pakistan. I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Now, it brought the country out of gray and terror finance started again. How can one control money laundering through cryptocurrency?
Yeah, when it comes to counter financing of terrorism as well as cryptocurrencies, you have to understand that these are cross-border in nature. So it becomes a little bit more obscure when you are required to basically coordinate with banks and financial institutions of maybe 10 other countries through which the money is currently being flowing, right? So the Financial Action Task Force is kind of working with a lot of regulators of different countries, especially their 39 member countries, to kind of create information sharing pathways, right? These are third party API services, or these are standard databases that each country would maintain, where you are having access to the suspicious transactions, or entities that are identified as suspicious within those countries, and then you have to basically kind of get that data into your system and do a entity resolution between whether that entity is kind of connected to any of the network that you have within your set of customers, right? So it becomes a little bit obscure because the information is not that accurate, right? And agencies are obviously trying to get cooperation, but it's a multi-government mechanism. It is slow. It takes a lot of time to kind of get regulations passed in the parliaments and kind of implemented. So it is moving in the right direction. But yes, I mean, I do agree that there's a lot that can be done.
Great. So we have a few more questions by Umesh Salvi. Since we have just about a minute left, let's see, Shekhar, if we can try and answer them. So his first question is, what is the process of trade-based money laundering? And the second question is, how can organizations effectively identify high-risk customers or transactions?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously going into details is not possible, but there are very specific processes around, trading activity, right? Whether it is related to financial trades or non-financial commodity trading, right? And these are more about, trying to kind of either, inject money into the system which is not from those activities, or trying to hide money from the system because you want to save tax, or other things, right? So there are known patterns, whether it is trader in the middle, circular trading, etc., that are available, and these are standard patterns which most of the systems are trained to detect. But it is as good as the data that you are providing. So if your data is incomplete and unreliable, then obviously you will not be able to detect it that much. Then in terms of cryptocurrencies. Sorry, was the second part of the question, Shipra? Sorry, was it related
The
to
second part is how can organizations effectively identify high-risk customers or
Okay.
transactions?
Yeah. Okay. So high risks, again, each organization has their own definition of what constitutes as high risk. There are high risk sectors. There are high risk group of individuals. In a particular geography, in a particular industry, there are politically exposed personas. There are suspicious personas which have probably some kind of criminal record, etc., etc. So there are different frameworks that you can use to identify risk groups and risk profiles. Now, how to do that versus being bias free is the trick, right? So you can't actually say that a particular community is high risk, because you can't treat an entire community as to be high risk. So you have to have non-biased categorization of risk profiles, and these are done. Some of these are already part of the systems that come as AML systems or fraud detection systems or risk profiling systems. But many of them you can define depending on the customer segment that you're working with. So a small finance bank will have a very different customer risk profile as compared to, let's say a wealth management bank. Okay, right? So but both will have their own suspicious high risk groups that they will monitor.
I know we are over time, but we have this last question. Maybe if we can cover it very quickly,
Sure.
Shekhar, how should
Sure.
suspicious activity be reported internally and to the regulatory authorities?
Yeah, so these are very, very, there are very clear guidelines laid down by the RBI, by the Financial Intelligence Unit, on how those filings should happen, what is the frequency, what is the format, what's the information that needs to go into that. From an internal perspective, it again, depends on the entity to entity, but when you have a risk management department, you define a particular policy for reporting risky transactions internally. What type of officers get involved, what type of departments are notified, what type of post detection countermeasures are taken. All of that is defined in a policy. You need to have that internal policy, and that policy needs to be activated for different SARs, criticality of different SARs. So depending on the bucket of the SAR, criticality of the SAR, those particular policy should get activated, and those triggers should happen within internal and external. Anyways, there are very clear guidelines laid down by the RBI and regulators.
Great. Thank you so much, Shekhar, for this, great session. A lot of good key takeaways for everyone. And I would also like to thank the attendees for taking out time. I hope you found the session to be quite informative. Thank you so much, everyone, and hope you have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much.